This is the garage west interior wall, and this is the U for UFER, and that's your bonding, and there it is in all of its glory. And over here inside the second panel, which a lot of us like to call the sub panel, the bonding is at the gas main. It's good that they have it labeled right there. I usually complain because it's not labeled, and I'm not that complainer today. And there's our main bonding. So this not only bonds the house, it bonds the gas system, which basically is the same. So the home faces north. This is the south exterior wall. This is the electric meter. Power's coming in below grade. It's been sealed. One thing we don't have on this is we do not have a slip joint on the main electric conduit. The main power supply electric conduit usually is a slip joint, so when the house and the ground moves, this will move. We'll get a lot of pressure up underneath here, causing it to separate. So we do not have our slip joint. Okay, write that down. We don't have a slip joint. We have, from our home here, we got our main ground. We got a second ground over there to the bonding. The main ground is in this rod right here in the ground. That's fine. Those boxes have been sealed. This electric receptacle outlet is GFCI protected, but it does not have a cover on it. In fact, the cover is there. Okay. We probably want to put a cover on that. This box is sealed. So we got our protective boots. They're only required in this cabinet. There's going to come a time when it's going to be required in the other cabinet. I get that. But for the time being, they're only required in here. Let's see if I can keep from... And these are to keep people from electrocuting themselves like I'm about to do. Okay, this is your main neutral. It's right to the white. That's fine. So what am I finding in here? A couple of things. This is a lockout for the oven. Okay, that's a good thing. This is for the clothes dryer. 30 amp for the clothes dryer. What's missing here? GFCI. The clothes dryer is not GFCI protected. They're supposed to be GFCI protected. The clothes dryer is not GFCI protected. The laundry is GFCI protected on the 120, but the 220 to the clothes dryer, this is supposed to be GFCI protected. And this breaker right here is 30 amps. You know what this one goes to? This one goes to the air conditioning system. You know what amp it takes? It takes a 35. So this condensing unit is underfused. You'll probably never have a problem with it. When it comes time to replace it, it'll probably be a more efficient unit, and this would be too large. But today, and as long as this lasts, this is underfused, which means that this will trip prematurely, can trip. I'm not saying that it will. Could trip prematurely, causing a nuisance trip when you don't have air conditioning, when it should have been able to handle a little more heat. That's what that means. So our air conditioners happens to be underfused. Now this cabinet is installed, and the only thing I know, I didn't see it installed, but we're just going to assume, and I have my doubts, but I'm left to assume that this was installed with lag bolts. There was a lag installed in there. That's what I'm left to assume. Now see this right here where it says surge. See where it says AC? Alright, the one that's underfused. See, this is printing. See where it says main disconnect? Okay, that's printing. Okay, excuse me. That is printing. Main disconnect is printing. Danger is printing. This is handwriting. The manufacturer and the code both stipulate that this should be printed. See where it says Eaton Location Center? It's a 200 amp service, by the way. Okay, this is all printing. This should be printing too. This should not be handwriting. handwriting. You can hardly read it already. We come in here, a lot of people like to call this the sub panel. It's the second panel, and the third panel, and the fourth panel. It's semantics, I get it. So if we want to call it a sub panel today, we can. Alright. This second panel doesn't have rubber boots on it, nor are they required at this time. In the future, they probably will be. Alright? You're not supposed to have more than an 1/8 of an inch gap between your panel. You've compromised the fire blocking between the panel. You're not supposed to have dust. Dust is combustible. You're not supposed to have contaminants like dust and paint inside of your cabinet. And you don't, and you do. You have that. That's wrong. Now they sell these rubber grommets like I showed you on the other side that can cover these things, and they're not required. I just saw one at class a couple days ago, and I said, well, that's the neatest thing I've seen since sliced bread, but you don't have one here, but that's a non-issue. I'm getting distracted. Alright, I don't want to distract you from the paint. I don't want to distract you from the dust. I don't want to distract you from the gaps. And I want to call your attention to the screws. That screw look like it's in there very good to you? Doesn't look as in there very good to me. If you read the instructions for this panel, the manufacturer thinks that this panel should have been installed with nails. Nails have much more shear strength than screws. If this building was to experience a tornado, for example, you've already got a bad day. Alright? Everything's all blowed up. It's just, who cares? Screws or nails. But if this cabinet had been nailed into place rather than screwed into place, it more likely would be attached to some lumber somewhere, gone in a larger piece. So when the first responders are coming in here, they don't have to step over a sparky box to come in and do you some good. This will pop out like a pimple because of the way that they installed it, the improper way that they installed it. Oh, bud, really? 1/8 of an inch? Are you kidding me? It's construction, man. Maybe. But the kid, the 16-year-old kid that installed the stereo into my car dash, it looks like it was made. And I know that that 16-year-old kid had a lot more on his mind, what he's going to be doing later on Friday night with his friends and stuff. I know he had a lot more on his mind than a 35-year-old licensed electrician. I know that this could have been installed better. I know it could have been done right. There's no reason why it couldn't be done right. But the grounding is located, and we've got the printing again. This is held up a little better since it's inside, huh? Just a little better. There we go. That's our printing right there. So what we learned we got gas, we learned we got dust, we learned that we've got paint, we learned that we got handwritten, we've learned that it was screwed into place, we learned that our condensing unit was overfused, that was also printed. We learned that our clothes dryer was not GFCI protected. Ground fault circuit interruption protected. That's what we learned.